Welcome to F1 or F Off, your audio pit stop for F1 news, interviews, and race reviews. I'm your host, Gabe.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Iddris.
Hey, Iddris. How was your holiday weekend?
Oh, it was fantastic. I was really hoping to have some time to watch the Indy 500, but unfortunately, I did not. So.
Yeah, same. Yeah. But I'm at least going to watch those extended highlights and then, probably try to get Peacock later so I can actually watch this season, because I definitely want to start watching that. I mean, if I'm going to go to the race this year, I want to kind of be caught up on it. Yeah. Which reminds me, do you have your tickets for Mid Ohio? Have you purchased those? Or
I do not. I have not yet purchased those. I think right now I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to do the entire weekend or just show up on quali and race day, making me a casual, or I guess a nerd, right? No, dweeb.
A dweeb casual.
A dweeb casual, yeah.
Yeah, well, because I'd like to buy. I was going to buy mine, but I didn't want to do that if you were not going to end up going.
Yeah.
Because it would just be better for us to go together if we were going to go.
Absolutely.
And I mean, hopefully, plane flights will not be skyrocketing in price. But I say that, and I can just feel the numbers going up as the plane starts to fill.
Do you feel Delta Airlines just looking at you and thinking like, waiting on
and then
Gabe's
you have
arrival?
Spirit over in the corner going, "Come fly with us. You'll be safe. We promise."
Don't worry if your back ages 20 years in one flight. You want to recline an inch? No.
New Spirit Airlines, lower prices, but no seats, all standing.
You joke about that, but there are airplane patents and designs out there.
I know,
and they're wicked. They're wicked, man. I could see if it's like, I mean, not with an airplane. No way at all. You should always be sitting. I could see if it's like, I don't know, like a train ride that's like 5 minutes, you know? It kind of like that. You remember at Cedar Point how they have like the trolley system that kind of gets you from one side of the park to the other side of the park?
Yeah,
but it's only like maybe
aluminum baskets that are like hoisted up in the air, held up by like shoestring that dangling across.
That's definitely an OSHA violation, but that's a whole nother episode.
If you move too quickly, it's just you could tip the whole thing over. It's terrifying.
Yeah, so I could see it being on something like that where it's more of a novelty type of ride, not like an actual real form of transportation, you know?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
They do that with bus stops now. It's supposed to be anti-homeless bus stops.
Oh, yeah.
They just have a little lean thing. And the thing that sucks is those aren't even comfortable. Like it's not even, you're solving one problem this perceived problem by getting rid of a comfort, like something just basic. Like, I mean, come on, it's just a bench. What we need is more comfortable flights, not more people on an airplane.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's not going to make it cheaper, because they'll tell you, it'll make it cheaper. No, because we know that corporations do not follow, they will use economic stuff as an excuse to raise prices, but they'll just raise prices anyway because they want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just like, why would this company charge this much and this company charge this much when they both have to pay the same amount for fuel? It's not like, Delta gets a cheaper rate on fuel than Spirit does. It's like, no, like the fuel cost is what the fuel cost is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a weird justification that they have, is like, well, rising fuel costs. It's like, no.
Is that your oil baron voice?
It's one of my many these are people are idiots voices. Yeah. And yeah, usually it's like this.
Yes, my yacht.
Yeah, just whatever voice sounds the most pathetic at the moment in my brain. That's what I use.
Speaking of yachts, okay, this is an aside, because now we're kind of going down this whole like subreddit anti-work kind of mantra and ethos. I frequent that subreddit a lot. It's very fascinating. Lots of good takes, but. Anyways, why, since we're talking about yachts, right, that remind me of Jeff Bezos, because he has that like mega crazy super yacht that requires a yacht you have to get on a yacht to get to his mega super yacht, right? It's ridiculous. We heard you like cars, dog, so we put a car within your car.
Oh my God.
But okay, the reason I bring it up is because like I have a Pixel, right? And Google will give you like news updates, like they call them like news cards or something, right?
Yeah.
And why did I get a news card for Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez are engaged? What? I don't care. Like, it was so weird. Like, of all the things I search, right? And what's wild is that it curates that and tailors that to whatever you typically Google, right? So I'm usually Googling like F1 stuff or video game stuff or Star Wars stuff, whatever it is, right? And somehow I get Jeff Bezos and his girlfriend getting engaged. It was just weird.
Well, I'll tell
how
you.
come it didn't give me any information about the whole Leclerc-Norris beef over the weekend? That's what I really wanted.
Two things. One, capitalism. Two, for some reason, everybody has forgotten one of the 10 commandments, which is thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods, which I think is a dumb one in any way, because as George Carlin points out, coveting your neighbor's goods is what keeps the economy going.
You know?
But that's the thing. It's just like,
good point.
That's all it is. It's just, here, look at these rich people. Don't you want to be like them? Remember, this guy's super rich, and like you should be rich too. Buy things. Like, it's just, that's all it is. I mean, like, it's one thing if you're like, here's a rich celebrity who happens to be an actor. It's like, well, okay, yeah, they do movies, and this person's a musician. Like, Jeff Bezos is a man who just has money and just owns a expensive company, and that's his. That's what he does. Yeah. He doesn't contribute really much of anything apart from just, having a company that people use and getting a ton of money and being known for having a ton of money. But
and
that's the thing,
yacht.
like, having a super yacht. It's like having money makes you famous, which is like ridiculous. Like, it just, we worship money in this country to a degree that's very gross. And that's all it is.
This is a very apt discussion given the fact that we're about to review Monaco.
Just a reminder, if you've lasted this long, one, we appreciate it. Two, it's sort of relevant because yes, there were many super yachts at Monaco, and they all blare their horn for Max Verstappen.
Orange
crypto.
Niche.
Did you see one of those? They did so like one aspect of this race this weekend is they had a helicopter flying around and like drones, and so they had a bunch of like new shots of the track. Which here's the thing, I like it and I don't. I like it because there are a lot of really beautiful shots that I saw that I'm like, ooh, that's really pretty. But then I also don't, because I never realized how many swimming pools exist around Monaco, and like, just it exposes more of just the decadence and excess that city has.
Sure. You mean also, the principality, right?
Yes. They also zoomed in on what some dude had had his super yacht. He just had a Ferrari F40 just sitting in the front of his super yacht.
Oh my God.
And I was just thinking, like, okay.
That's money.
One, you have that car. Two, you paid to put it on your boat. And three, you like, I mean, I don't know, does he live there? Is it like a stationary yacht? Or did he travel with that yacht, with the car there, just to be like, it was literally a status symbol. It's like,
that
was just there to be like, hey, I own an F40.
It
kind of made me feel kind of gross.
The only word.
Like,
bonkers is the only word that comes to mind.
If I had a super yacht like that, I wouldn't put a F40 there. I'd just be like, here, he's just an average Toyota Corolla. Why not?
Or a Cybertruck.
Oh, God. Have you seen the interiors of those?
They're not good.
Dude, it's like the most Spartan, weird. It looks
and
like
not Spartan in a good way.
No, it looks like something that like somebody would drive around in like a factory. Like, it looked like the interior of like a little cart around the factory to like grab the packages off the shelves. Like, it just didn't. It wasn't anything.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like
who wants this?
Luxury.
Do people want this?
Crypto bros.
I'll tell you what. You know what car looks really cyber, and I think it looks really awesome is those Hyundai Ions or
the Ioniq 5s. Yeah,
those things look really cool, especially the wheels. The wheels are sweet. It literally looks. You add some like wires sticking out of the side and like some excessive pipes and stuff, and that would fit right in Cyberpunk 2077. Like, it was. I was like, that thing's cool as hell.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about the excesses of Monaco and just
Monaco.
Yeah, we'll talk about not only was it an excess of money and display of money, but it was also an excess of flirty kissing with all.
Just all over the walls.
All those walls. They loved making out with those Qatar Airlines walls. I'll tell you that much.
And there was one person in particular who just had the hots for the walls in Monaco. Your boy Lance Stroll. Just
I've been really trying, baby. Trying to hold back this feeling Yeah. Oof. Yeah. He, as I posted on our social media, you could say that Lance Stroll was in his wall slut era. Because he touched those walls. He said, I think about 5 times. Wasn't completely his fault when the rain hit, but even still, like he just could not help but just caress those walls. Tell us about Monaco, Iddris.
All right. Track background. That's going to be the new stinger. All right, so welcome to the Formula One Grand Prix de Monaco 2023, located in Monte Carlo in the Principality of Monaco. First race here was in 1929. Typically takes place during the afternoon. I think it's also most of the time it's pretty. The weather is not always nice for Monaco.
No. I think didn't Martin Brundle say that most of the time like it'll rain after the race and like all the crew is like packing up while it's like trickling down.
It's a coastal city, right? So
yep, like
makes sense.
Right off some mountains.
Yeah. So that's where that stuff happens.
Yeah. And fun fact, really quick, that first race in 1929, that was started by a rich cigarette manufacturer who just rallied a bunch of his rich friends together to make an automotive race, and that's like was the first Monaco race.
My man,
rich boy central, you know, like. I'm sure the guy with the F40 on his yacht probably would have been one of those dudes who's just like, all right, yes, bully.
All right. F1 driver here with the most wins, we have Mr. Ayrton Senna. He had 6 wins at Monaco, and 5 of them were consecutive between the years of 1989, that is, and 1993. And a fun fact about this track, 161.88 miles. There's a 162-mile race, which is roughly 30 miles short of the FIA track minimum distance, and it has the slowest corner on the calendar, which is called the hairpin, which averages around 30 miles per hour with full steering lock. And that's that one really nice shot that you always see when they always focus on that shot. Anytime the race is going on, you'll see them just come straight down towards you and then slow all the way down, turn around right next to that apartment building. So that's an iconic turn.
And that's where Lance had his first makeout session with a couple of the cars coming down there. I saw that and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He was just going boop, 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 just like he like ricocheted between the wall and a couple of cars, and then he makes the turn, and then he tries to force his way past Logan Sargent, and then just like he like hits Logan Sargent because Logan Sargent makes the turn. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why would you even try that? Like, you know, it's Monaco. You can't just force your way across. Sometimes I feel like when I see Lance Stroll race, he reminds me of every guy on Forza who gets really frustrated that he's not winning, and then so he tries to like smack your car at the next turn and like hit you against the wall and then take off. Like I swear, like I've seen this guy drive and I've Forza all the time. Like it's just I don't understand. Like you can't blame it on your brakes every time. You know what I mean? Like it's gotta be.
It was my brakes, man. It was my brakes. But yeah, before we get into the race, let's give the folks our thoughts on quali. Anything you wanted to tell the people here, Gabe?
Well, it was a good qualifier. I will say that. It was very exciting. And that's the thing I think I've said before, that like if you're going to watch Monaco, the casuals cannot just watch the race. They've got to watch the qualifier, because that is arguably the more important session of the race. And just as an overall sort of comment on the qualifying for Monaco, because it is as important as it is, I do think that it might be worth changing the format slightly, because once again, I do not like this idea of putting drivers and cars at risk of damage for the sake of entertainment, because of the qualifying can be just as exciting if we ran it like they do an Indy car for the Indy 500, where it's like every one driver goes out, you know, tries to do like a hot lap.
Just do hot laps.
Like, or a warm-up lap and a hot lap. And then you send the next guy out. Warm lap, hot lap. And you just keep doing them one at a time. They get their chance to get around the track, and they don't have to worry about, like, you know, staying out of the way of another driver or anything like that. It would be so much better, and I think it would give people a much, much better chance of, you know, actually getting in what they do, and less likely that you're going to have a collision between two drivers, or have an instance which is what happened to Charles Leclerc, where he got a 3 grid spot penalty.
100%. Oh my god! And it was
he held up Norris in the tunnel,
and it was like an open and shut case, dude. It wasn't even like like, oh, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. No, it was like, bro,
he should not have been in the tunnel for that long. Like, he should have, like, even if he was on his cool down lap, he should have just sped up out of the tunnel,
or
you know,
something.
just to get out of the way for Norris, because that was really unacceptable.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing that happened in qualifying right out the gate was Perez hits the wall of turn 1.
Dude, man. And I mean, because he won last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then for him to just have such an awful showing this year in quality,
What showing?
Okay, so I can't wait for Drive to Survive Season 6, where Will Buxton is like, to go from winning Monaco the year prior to P20, it's going to look bad. It's going to look bad.
Big, huge.
And now Christian has Danny Rick. He can potentially sick on him. You know, like something like that. You know, I don't have a very good Will Buxton voice, but
Monaco is a track where if you push the boundaries, then
the boundaries push back.
The boundaries push you back. And Perez, unfortunately, he found that. He found that at this race.
And it was a strong push.
I do love Will Buxton.
No, he's the GOAT.
Yeah, Perez hits that wall, which has some pretty big implications, because not only is he unable to unable to advance, but it guarantees another slot for the top 3.
100%.
And and I don't usually like to deal in absolutes or like assured things with Formula One, because you never know what's going to happen.
Also, only Sith do that.
But yeah, I mean, it could have been possible that Perez just wouldn't have been able to like put in a good lap, but there's a high enough chance that he would have. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely a bit of a shakeup.
Big time.
But
and very welcome, honestly.
Yeah, it welcome in a sense for our entertainment, but it is really disappointing for Perez. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And
it does suck.
Just for his race. I mean, that was just the tip of the iceberg for him this weekend.
Yeah.
So the other kind of sort of disappointing thing, both Haas were out in Q1. They just were not performing. I mean, that was another sort of start of a very, 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 very poor weekend for them.
Yeah.
But I think what was really made this qualifier exciting, at least for me, was the fact that you could see the lap times increasing in real time as the track cooled down. Because amazing. You were getting some drivers putting in some banger laps that you were not expecting. Like Yuki Tsunoda had was top of the timesheets briefly there for a second because of a hot lap. And I mean, sure, yeah, he's a quick guy and he's got a quick car, but a lot of that had to do with that track just evolving more and more and more as they kept progressing, which, you have a colder track, right? It's going to affect the tires more positively because they can, maintain their heat. It was getting later in the day. And so there's sort of that evolution of that track sort of like going from a hotter temperature from the midday into a cooler, I think was like nicer on the tires. The tires were able to maintain heat themselves,
regulate,
not
that. And also, I mean, they had been rubbering the track at that point for so long, right? That there's a racing line that's getting burned into the track. Absolutely, yeah.
So that was really, really fun to watch. And I mean, just the back and forth between Alonso and Verstappen, kind of trading back and forth. I mean, I was getting excited every time I saw a purple sector from Alonso. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I was going like, get over the line, get over. And
absolutely.
The end of that qualifier was just shocking. I mean, like Alonso, he had purple sectors and a personal best in he had purple sectors 1, 2, and then a personal best in 3, and he was like P1, and I'm like, yep. And his team was cheering, they were all excited, and then Max comes around,
like, dude, and like as you're saying this, I was thinking of Thanos' line from, I think it was Infinity War, and I think Thanos said, or someone said, run from it, dread it, but I still arrive, like it being Max here, right? Even though Alonso was just laying it down, right? Throwing these crazy blows and haymakers, just Max Thanos Verstappen was like, nope,
it's just crazy that
just take what's mine.
He made up 3/10 in the last sector.
Insane.
Like literally the last part of the last sector.
Yeah, because Alonso was on track to get pole before that. Yeah.
He made up 3/10, which is like doesn't seem like a lot. It is a lot. And to make that up right in within like the last few corners, that's insane to me.
Yeah,
because
bonkers.
I was watching, like, he was behind Alonso for like most of the track.
Yeah.
And it's like, how in the world does that happen? I swear, like, I know, like everybody else, I think I want Red Bull to have been cheating this whole time.
I know,
just
because
not be this fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get
it's
you.
It's just a, and if you're a Red Bull fan, it's amazing. But if you're not, it's just like a gut punch every time. And you could see the disappointment on the Aston's face, like the team's face. Like, it was just oof, that was a blow, man.
But man, let me just say kudos to Aston Martin, man. They have put together such a beast of a machine, and in such a short amount of time, honestly, right?
Yeah.
Because think about it, the team was purchased by the consortium, which Racing Point. They were recruiting sponsors to get Aston Martin. They bring in, this is their third year as Aston Martin, right? So they're seeing a lot of success within a short amount of time, and I think that speaks to the management and leadership of that company. So, like, hats off to Lawrence Stroll. Like, that win will come eventually, and the points will become trickling. Like, it's just a matter of time.
And we know it's not going to be Lance.
Oh my god!
I mean, seriously, dude, the guy has failed to get points in like 3 of the 5 races that we've done this year. And then you have Alonso, who's done like 3, 2. Like,
yeah.
I mean, come on,
very consistent. Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's get to the race then, because this is where, like, as we said, like,
something real quick I wanted to say actually before we go into the race. I was gonna say during the free practices and stuff, we got a chance to see a lot of the underskirts of the cars, right?
Oh, we did, yeah.
That was awesome to see, right? You can see how some of the design philosophies are pretty similar, but between some of the teams, some like Red Bull have like a lot of depth to their underbody. And it's interesting to see. I mean, honestly, like, there's not a whole lot of information you can eke out of it other than people are doing different things, because it's not just about what the flow passages underneath the car look like. You know, you have to think about how that interacts with the aero and the structure of the actual vehicle itself, right? Along with the engine and like how much power that's producing for the overall system package. So really cool. I don't know if much is going to come out of that outside of just more like, that's interesting. That's an interesting approach. And maybe,
when they were
of what it looks like for their own package.
When they were hoisting the Red Bull up and out, you had people like, Ferrari and like Mercedes and the watching the live feedback and be like, get a notebook.
Yeah.
Pause it. Yeah, because I looked at they were zooming in on all the Red Bull engineers, and like they all had poker faces, but I almost wondered, like, I almost feel like a sort of sense of panic, like, oh no, why did you
they'll see the thing that's enabled us to, and,
it just
look
like,
underneath, there's like an Oompa Loompa underneath who's like
it's just printed out, we're cheating. Yeah, on the skid plate, that was definitely interesting. I think it's also crazy to me to see the cars like up in that, like, it made me nervous.
Oh yeah,
just like, oh, don't drop it.
absolutely.
Yeah, so the race,
stuff happened.
It was very scrappy, very flirty, as I said. Lots of kissing the wall. I mean, we saw a little bit of it in qualifying. Sainz broke his suspension, hitting the wall. That reminds me, though, too, really quick. Norris being able to get out in qualifying for Q3. His engineers rebuilt his front left suspension in, like, it was something crazy. It was like normally like a 30-minute job, and they did it in like half the time. It was crazy. So shout out to those guys. But yeah, the race, a lot of kissing the barriers, a lot of touching, a lot of bumping around. And what was very, 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 very interesting to me, and this is the point I wanted to bring up, is that it is remarkable that there was this much body contact in this race between drivers and between cars and like the wall, and yet we did not get a safety car. We did not get anybody crash out. There wasn't any big accidents. I mean, there were parts being tossed around. We eventually got one retirement, which was Stroll. So
Magnussen.
Oh yeah, K-Mag did get out at the end. Yeah. But yeah, overall, like, for as scrappy as it was not not a high attrition rate.
Right. So maybe let's start at like the beginning of the race. Just from jump. I think Alonso had the right strategy with trying to just take advantage and capitalize on Max's. He hasn't been super good with the starts this season. I don't know what it is.
No.
Must be something with his clutch just being able to grab onto his transmission and actually just get that power and energy transferred and apply it properly and evenly. But he's just been a little off on that this season. So Alonso tried to make a move on him, but wasn't able to get it off. But was able to cover off Ocon, who was starting P3 behind him. Yeah. So that was really good to see. Yeah, I think the race was kind of developing pretty smoothly from the beginning. There were no major incidents or anything like that. I think it's when we got to the first hairpin, that's when things kind of started going left. Especially because I think it was Stroll, like we said earlier, Stroll right into Sargent, and it was. I love Sargent's radio message. He was like, oh, "What the f, mate?" And it's good to see that he is picking up, like he's using like European and Australian slang, right? Like, mate,
yeah.
Pal.
Yeah. I was gonna say, hey there, buddy, what you doing there?
No, he's from Miami, Florida, so that might be a whole different subset of language and lexicon.
Yeah, man, no, he totes like yeeted into me, legit.
Hashtag crypto stadium.
Did you see the advertisements that they put in the tunnel?
No. What advertisements in the tunnel?
Well, they had, so like, you know, you have like the lights are shining on the tunnel.
Yeah.
And they had a virtual advertisement board.
Yeah,
They
they've been doing that. Yeah.
They were like trying to color the lights. Like, but they weren't actually, lights weren't actually turning color. They were like digitally putting like color over the light strips. It was very off-putting. I was like, guys, just don't even bother, man. Just don't. Just save your advertisements for like outside. Like I don't like this whole marketing thing of like we're just gonna find every available surface we can, no matter how stupid, in order to advertise, you know, Qatar Airways or whatever. I just what the hell.
Let me ask you, Gabe. I mean, because the race was going, I think we had about 40 laps or so, right, where it was just dry, racing in the dry, right, and like things were just kind of going on as they typically do.
Max and Alonso were kind of playing chicken a little bit.
Yeah, and then you start hearing like over the radio, like we're expecting rain in X amount of time, right, and so you kind of start seeing the strategies kind of play out. What did you think of the race at that point? Because this was like midway through when things started kind of going that direction.
It piqued my interest because even though there's not action happening on there might not be too much action happening on track per se, the storm is brewing literally and metaphorically, because you have in this interesting dynamic of drivers, like some drivers are running hard tires, right? Hard tires are going to last about 50 or so laps into the race. Then you had guys that were on the medium tires. The mediums were only supposed to go between like 30 to 35 to like 38 laps or something. And Max kept complaining about his tires. Because he was on the mediums and Alonso was on the hards. And the thing is that this is where they were playing that game of chicken, because they were hoping that one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to get a safety car intervention or you're going to get the rain. So safety car intervention would have given you a free pit stop, basically, and it would short everybody up together, so that would have made things more interesting. But also the rain, which you could see what happened with the rain, because Monaco is as short of a track as it is, and because passing is almost impossible. Not impossible, it's close, but it's not impossible.
You can do it.
Then it all just came down to track position being king. And so, you know, if you're going to get to like lap 38 and you're like, okay, I'm going to switch to hard tires, and you switch to hard tires and then it rains, guess what? You got to do another pit stop, which is exactly what happened to Alonso, which was very disappointing, because I was like, great, awesome. Like the rain came, they didn't pit yet. Like, let's see like how they're going to do switching tires. And they just threw Alonso on hard or mediums.
But I even think he requested that though, right? He was
I don't remember, because they were saying that he was questioning the strategy like after the race. I don't know if that was a decision he was going to make. I think everyone is blaming Aston's strategy, not Alonso, for making the call.
I think what was difficult was that you had rain just when the rain eventually did come, right? You had rain in just like two corners of the track, right?
Right.
But that water then began being carried around the track, right? And then it just fully opened up. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's like when you're kind of in that in between, it's like if it's just one or two corners, you can make do with it and just like, you know, tiptoe around there and then just go flat out the rest of the course. So
they had somebody was out there on full wets and or they were out there on inters, and they're just like, oh, like he's not going as fast as Alonso is, and I think it may have even been Stroll, and I was just thinking, were you really gonna just gauge Stroll's like lap time with that? But yeah, no, they were like saying that the commentators were like, I think this is the right strategy, but then literally right after they said that, the entire just the heavens opened, and it was just, and so it was really it was really unfortunate for Alonso. I do genuinely think that he would have potentially been able to win that race had that not happened, because he pitted. I think he pitted. Did he pit first? Yeah, he pitted first because everyone was curious whether or not, like, they were like, oh, like, what's Verstappen going to switch to? And he was like screaming inters.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that was the right call.
Right.
I think that at that point, after that, I think, they were just proceeding race as usual. I think that if Alonso would have potentially been able to try and pose a battle with Max if they had had a safety car intervention, but I don't know, man. Like, these cars somehow, for some reason, they were just made of like, adamantium or something this weekend because they were just hitting the walls and then not breaking. So shocking.
Well, I mean, that is true. And this is actually one thing I wanted to go back to speak on back on lap 11. So while I think that claim is true for most of the drivers in their cars, on lap 11, your boy Sainz comes on the radio and he says about Esteban Ocon in front of him, let's push him to use his tires, and then proceeds to crash into Ocon.
If he won't use his tires, I will. And he just cuts him with his wing.
And then his wing gets clipped, and it's like, okay. And I guess that's something we need to talk about, right? During a race, when that happens, I guess the FIA has said if you can show that your car can maintain its structural integrity, right? It is okay if there's a bit of body work, like that's like dangling off, or if it comes off that, you can still drive around, right? And yeah, sure, that's fine. But like, if, I don't know, it's a little frustrating when drivers are driving around the track, right? And a piece of their body work just comes flying off, and then it damages or hurts another driver's race. Like, that feels really sucky, right?
Yeah.
Like, immediately after it flew off, immediately after I think it was the left, or I can't remember if it was the left or the right side, the front end, the end plate on his front wing flew off. Lewis comes, like, just smashes over it, and I think Leclerc behind him managed to like narrowly avoid it. Yeah, that kind of sucks. I know that's part of racing too, but I know the commentators on the Sky Sports stream were talking about whether or not he would get a flag for just driving a dangerous vehicle on the track. So.
Well, what was amazing was apparently there was a big enough gap between Sargent and Max at the end of the train that they were able to run out and grab the pieces and get off the track before. Like, it was like 43 seconds or something. It was like almost an entire lap. I would agree. I mean, it's the sort of risk you take with this sort of racing that, like, your actions and things that happen to you could overtly affect somebody else's race, whether it be damaging their vehicle, messing up their lap time, screwing their qualifying time. And I think that there has to be a balance between just going racing, but also making it fair and kind of negating risk. And I think that Monaco is a very special case where I do believe that the Monaco qualifying format should be slightly different because of the nature of that track being as narrow and as small. I almost feel like all street circuits should have a different qualifying format where they just do like what they do with Indy, where it's like you just send somebody out, warm up lap, hot lap, and then there you go. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I do not want to see debris and track
like ruining
somebody's race.
Yeah, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, I don't know if many people noticed, but Crofty was coming in hot with the jokes during the recording of the Monaco race. So he said, this was the line he used. He said, was Haas right in thinking that Sargent was holding up Hulkenberg to help his teammate Albon in P20? We'll see if their Haas assumptions are right. That was on lap 20. I'm like 100% certain that's what he said. It could have just been me like making it up, but I don't know. He's been known to do things like that where he'll make puns.
They've been having fun recently with all the commentary, and I'm here for it. I mean, just make it silly, have fun with it. I don't. There has to be a balance between sort of seriousness without being stuffy, and then just having fun with it. I mean, this is like, it's entertainment. Like, people forget, like, this is entertainment. This is what this is.
Absolutely.
Now, should we be putting people in danger for entertainment? No, but if Crosby wants to throw some puns out there, I'm 100%. He's got to pick his moments, though.
Yeah.
Well, it is now time for our podium vibes. So, Iddris, do you want me to go first? Do you want me to give you my vibes? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, after this weekend, I can confirm I am still a Monaco ho. I was contemplating whether I should call myself a Monaco bro, but I also don't like being referred to as a bro. I like ho a little bit better, you know. I'm a slut for the principality. So here's my here's my hot slutty takes on this. This race was not boring. If you say it's boring, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, and that's fine. But I do not agree with you. I don't think this was boring. I think Miami was way more boring than this was. Way more boring. Even with LL Cool J doing the intros.
He battled for the championship last
year. Charles Leclerc. But yeah, no, it was not boring because for a couple of things. One, like I've always said, Monaco visually is wonderful to watch.
Absolutely.
You have a great sense of speed. I mean, like around that hairpin, the hairpin turner, they're going 30 miles an hour. Yeah. I mean, that hairpin turn is not like a long
that's
turn. That's a tight corner.
It's tight. Super tight.
That's almost like a roundabout. It's like a roundabout for like a person's driveway. Like imagine going like 30 miles an hour like around like a corner in a parking lot. Like, it's like that. That's not, super slow.
Yeah.
So I think they tried some new aerial footage and pictures like with the helicopter camera, and I think that some of those are great. They did get rid of the one shot that I really miss, and that is there was a fixed camera that was at the first chicane in the swimming pool section, and the cars go like they like dart really fast across it, and they kind of took that out. But I'm not too mad with it. I think that this race, I think it shows a couple of things. It proves that Monaco still deserves to be on the calendar. I don't think it's a race that needs to be removed for any reason, because like we said before, you don't remember every basketball game. And so why should Formula One be held to such a different standard than like an NBA sports event? You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you just have races that happen. And like I said, I don't think this was boring. Especially once the threat of rain started coming around, because that instantly shook things up a bit. And I don't want people to rely on the rain as being a reason to watch a race. I think that between the strategy and the tire management and just watching the cars like scrap for positions, like there were definitely several moves on track there were passes being done that were really good moves that I was seeing from drivers. And I do think that they put up a fight, and I think that it was an entertaining race weekend, despite the fact that Max just continued to extend his lead. And real quick though, before I hand it over to you, there's one more point I want to hammer home here. I am still frustrated every time I hear people say, well, looks like the championship's over for Perez, and like, well, it looks like Max has this sewn up. I'm like, okay. Max has 144 points. Perez has 103, I think, like 108 or something like that. First place finish is what, 25 points?
25 points, yeah.
So it is not out of the realm of possibility that in the next two races, Max has DNFs.
That's true.
It is not impossible. Yeah. To think that it's impossible, it just like you're preemptively making everybody bored right out the gate.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that frustrates me. It's
I'm with you so much, yeah.
This sport is the most unpredictable thing ever. I mean, look at this 2007 season. Everybody, the entire season was just like, oh, Lewis or Alonso are going to win it. And then here comes Kimi Räikkönen, just swoops in and takes it because they were fighting so much.
Yeah.
Like, you do not know what's going to happen. Like if you just assume that Max is going to win it every time, then you're just going to make everybody less interested. You do not know. Yeah, it's possible.
I'm with you, man. Anytime there's a Formula One racing event on the calendar, on the telly, I'm watching it. I don't even if there is a strong showing from Red Bull, that's fine. Like I'm still enjoying the race, right? Like we talked about this a little bit with our last episode of when will the races be interesting again. I think it's all about what is it about the race in general that you find interesting. Do you want to see different race winners all the time? Because maybe this won't be as interesting of a season. Like people are just guessing that, right? But there's a lot of other elements that you can really like hone in on and focus on that make it a really, really fun event to watch. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, I mean, part of me almost wonders, like, the people do that, they have fantasy football. I think they have an F equivalent for that for F1. And I almost feel like that could be interesting for people because it's like if all of a sudden it would force you to care about some of those mid-level battles.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's crazy to watch these guys fighting so hard for like a non-points finish. You know what I mean? But it's because it's part of the sport. It's what it is, So it's like you have to find the moments where they're there, and I'm telling you, they are there.
Yeah.
But this idea that just write off Sergio Perez now as like, well, no way he's gonna win. It's just like you don't know that.
Yeah.
There could be Red Bull could have some mechanical issue that comes up that their cars that Max's car blows up that they didn't anticipate. You know what I mean? Maybe one of the back markers takes out Max on a turn, maybe Max makes a mistake and crashes into the wall and halfway through the race. Like, it's not impossible. It is possible. You just have to just expect the unexpected. That's the best way to watch this sport is expect that something crazy is going to happen. Because then what it is you just turn into that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio with the beer and you're pointing at the TV. It's just like, it can happen. So anyway, what are your podium vibes?
All right. So my vibe check for this race, excellent race to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed this Monaco GP, and I'm going to go out and say that I think this is my favorite Monaco race that I've seen in the last few seasons. This was really, really fun. I can't remember another Monaco race like that really stands out to me. Maybe because Nico's
win was pretty good.
Danny Ricciardo's win was good, but also Nico Rosberg's win, because he beat Lewis at Monaco in 2016, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good race too. So this was good. Like I think what I enjoyed about this was just like the element of like you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know what's gonna happen, right? Like the fact that Alonso was like staying with Max the entire time. There was that hope that, oh man, he's gonna get him down, he's gonna reel him in, and something catastrophic could happen to Max, just like what Gabe was saying here, right? Like you kind of expect the unexpected, right? But yeah, excellent. I really loved it. I thought it was really, really fun race to watch. I had jokingly, I think the FIA should like totally just buy some rain machines similar to what they do on movie sets in Hollywood, and just have just water just dumped on random segments of the track, because I think the water actually, the rain and the standing water did add an element of strategy here and just a new variable to the race format that kind of added some new interesting elements. If the FIA is not going to ever take seriously the fact of introducing a Joker lap, they really need to think about some other things to do here. Maybe like what we've been saying this for a long time. You need to introduce like hot lap shootouts for quali, because that's probably the best way to get something that's more interesting as far as a race is concerned, right? Monaco would be a great place. Any kind of street circuit would be a great place to do that. I think what was also great about the rain is that it forced drivers to slow down, and it's the great equalizer, right? It's all about technicality at that point, and everyone had to go into the braking zones like from way further back. So you have longer braking zones, which means there's a higher potential for more overtaking, which we saw a lot more of after the rain had started falling, right? And everyone was on the inters. So that was great to see. A hot prediction, maybe my hot take of this episode. And I think most people kind of feel like this at this point. So maybe it's not as hot of a take. Maybe it's more of a maybe 60-degree room temp take. Alonso, he's going to get a win this season. I don't know if it's going to be Max just like binning it and Alonso picking that up, which is a possibility. I would like to see it more so based on Alonso merit, completely just like holding off Max for the entire race, like, taking over the Minister of Defense mantle from Sergio and just like putting his car where it needs to be to stop Max from advancing. I'm here for it. Can't wait to see that.
Oh, Alonso is the security council of F1.
He's a UN security council.
He's been doing that for years. Like they're like he held off Vettel at Silverstone once in his Ferrari, and it was crazy. He made like Vettel cry in the car. I swear to God, it was just like, because Vettel was just like, oh, he needs to get out of the way. He can't be doing this, and like Alonso's just like, nope, you're faster. Nope. Yep. It was incredible.
He's telling Mr. Costa from Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold.
Hey Arnold. Why no? Why he can't let me go past on the racetrack? It's not fair. You give it the money.
So there's a couple more hot takes here. So, like I said, this is my favorite Monaco race that I think I've ever seen. But as far as Mercedes is concerned, we don't have enough data from just this one race. We need to see I think more power tracks, so maybe like Canada, that will kind of give us some data. Yeah, more airflow. We need to see how it performs at a place like that. Imola would have been a really good place to test it, based on how that track is laid out, but unfortunately we're gonna need a few more races before we know whether or not the added side pods to the Mercedes body works. So we'll see. I guess some two cheeky ones that I have here. We need more banter on Twitter and Instagram between Leclerc and Norris. That was great to see. Like, did you see their posts?
No. What happened?
So because of the whole Leclerc Norris incident, right? Norris I think it was Instagram or Twitter, but Norris posted a photo of Leclerc from back in his karting days, where there was an incident that Leclerc was involved in back in his karting days, and he said incident or something like that, right? And so Norris just posts a screen cap of that on his Twitter when people were asking him about the incident that happened between both him and Leclerc. And Leclerc clapped back, I think the following day, where it was just a pic of Norris back in his karting days, both of them being like, super string, being 11, 12-year-old looking boys. And just using, they're just going back and forth with each other's pictures on their Instagram accounts. It was really funny to see.
That's fun.
That there should be more of that. I think that's good banter. Also, McLaren, they need to use the Triple Crown livery more, I think, just because it's first off, it's clean. Like, it looks so nice. But also, they were P9, P10 for this race, right? They're both
points
in the
finish.
Yeah, that's excellent.
I feel that McLaren switching their livery, it was more of like a lucky jersey situation for McLaren. Gotcha. Because I 100% agree with you. I think that livery looks really good.
It's clean, man.
So much better than their stock livery. I also saw that Williams is doing some special livery for what race is it? Oh, Singapore. And they were having people vote for their choices. And there's I think it's the second to last choice they have. It's the one that looks completely different from all the other ones that looks really good. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
And then I think Red Bull is doing another contest for Austin, which honestly, I saw some of the other Miami liveries that they could have chosen, and they chose the most middle of the road looking one possible. And it was a little disappointing. So hopefully they'll have something a little more exciting looking in Austin. I honestly think the Haas should just run an American flag car. Just do that. Just have fun with it. I definitely agree with both of those things. I'm really excited to see Mercedes perform better with the bigger side pods. We will know the next race is in Spain, in Barcelona. So that's a pretty big track. That's got a long straightaway. And I think they got rid of the last chicane. Now it's just a straight curve. So they're going to be carrying a lot more speed into that straightaway.
Yeah.
So if any place is going to have the Mercedes side pod change, be a benefit, I think that's what it's going to be. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm definitely excited to see it. Okay, everybody. Thanks for listening to F1 or F Off. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you want to hit us up, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at F1 or F Off. You can also email us at f1orfoffpodcast@gmail.com. We are working on currently actually switching over to YouTube as well. So that is something to see eventually. Just trying our best to make us
content
as
available
accessible
to you guys,
as possible. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who they absorb more of their content on YouTube than they do anything else. So it would definitely be good. And then I don't know. Hopefully we'll be able to get to a point where we can actually have video podcasts at some point. Could be kind of fun. But yeah, give us a 5-star review whenever you listen to your podcast. It really helps us out, especially if it's genuine, because we think we're 5-star men, and I think we are. So we deserve that 5 stars. If you could give that to us, we'd be eternally grateful for you. And also be sure to share it to your family and friends, because even though they may or may not listen to the podcast, if they know about it, they are more than likely knowing somebody else who will probably know it or know somebody who also likes it. And we want to cater to everybody and anybody out there who wants to listen.
Absolutely.
So, yep. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Peace, y'all.
Bye-bye.